So, what do you think of the different training methodologies? So people I've spoken to who went to New Wave, they do like almost an hour of. Apparently, John will teach just techniques for like an hour, and then they'll do just positional training, no rolling.
Oh, well,
That might be the mat size.
that's
But
limited
like,
based on mat size, I think, because Henzo Gracie Austin, where they teach the regular people, or some of the people in there are good. John just doesn't like them, doesn't allow them to come to Roka, you know?
but every day is basically like a seminar. Like it's like a lot of
That started in
instruction.
Puerto Rico, because in New York, we would do, all right, so everyone knows this, but class was meant to start at 12, but it started at 12:45, you know? And then we'd do only three, four, maximum five techniques. And if people haven't been in his class, he's pretty succinct as opposed to the length of his instructionals,
Yeah.
you know? What he says in class could be 100 times shorter than the way he expresses it in an instructional. But we would only do a short amount. We'd do three positions, three regular. And if there was a comp coming up, maybe an extra round at the end
Yeah.
pertaining to those rules. And then in Puerto Rico, but that was because we were operating under Henzo Gracie. So although he could start foot class 45 minutes late, that was about the limit. And then he couldn't run class too late because that space, he's teaching within Henzo's gym. Puerto Rico, the rules were completely gone. So like, we went back to one session a day, but sometimes we'd do over 2 hours of technique before we'd roll. You know, like he would just,
How did you find that?
oh, that was awful. Yeah, that was awful. Because when we went there, he wanted to teach all the locals, catch them up to speed on leg locks. So it'd be a lot of static drilling on that. And
It's funny
that
because
was rough.
yeah, I run like the classes I run. I tend to like. I kind of want people to do their homework, like knowing what technique you want to work on and so on is like a. I suppose I just view it a bit differently, but like, you could sit there and watch instructionals and come in like knowing what you want to work, and then if you've got an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can get straight into the training side of it.
Yeah.
I just found it interesting that there's like a lot of technical instruction, which, I was like, oh, isn't that something you could get in your own time? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, people that are thinking for themselves are going to be way better than those people that just show up.
That's always been my, like you and like, I think about all the guys in Australia that I think progressed fast, even like Kit, Mini Dave, Tingy and so on, who I thought like got good at a faster rate than other people, and even that's just people like that I came through with, but then people at my gym as well. Like even guys like Jeremy and that, like he would always just be studying his own things. The people who are doing their own study, I think you just understand, like when you're coming in with like, I'm going to try this, not just I'm going to try what someone said, but like I want to work this, you do get better faster. That's the sort of what I'm trying to do I'm trying to encourage people to do that.
But
Even if it's not, if they're not that personality, it's hard, but like,
yeah. It was someone asked me a question that they could easily figure out the answer to. I'm pretty mean to them about it, because it's like, to me, it just shows laziness, or like they don't want to think for themselves, they don't want to try it out. So it's like I kind of try to shut it down. That's probably one thing I learned from John, but that's not going to fly in a regular gym, you know? Like if someone's a purple belt and they're like, how do I escape side control? You're like, bro, like, fucking way too far gone now. Like it better be a specific question relating to a specific problem. Otherwise, I just think it's super lazy. Or then, like, if they demonstrate it and the solution's so obvious, you're like, bro, how are you not? Like, you haven't even come up with your own idea, tried to test it out.
Yeah.
You're trying to cut out the middleman and ask me direct. But then that just, to me, shows the lazy personality type that's probably not going to do too well in jiu-jitsu, where you face problems every day.
How would you say B team's training structure is different to like what? Like if someone was going to New Wave compared to B team, what would they expect?
The classes will be much more encouraging, much more self-learning. But then, like you said, like some people just they seem to be incapable of that.
Yep.
I mostly just help people that have events, somewhat important events coming up. Like I'll work on specific things with them rather than work with the whole class, because I believe like helping them over specific problems for the event they have coming up is actually more helpful to them than them participating in a regular class. But the good guys are in the corner practicing what they think they need to work on. You know, they self-separate.
Yep.
Sometimes someone that doesn't belong in that corner comes along, we have to kick them out. You know, they're not ready yet. But
Yeah. How much? So I'm just getting into your I'm really interviewing you. How important do you think working from bad positions is? It was interesting. Like I was asking Tynan about his training, and he says like he gets him mostly working out of bad spots, which I found interesting because I always thought AOJ was all about like first grips, first point, like basically if you passed the guard, you lost, sort of thing.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of, I kind of viewed them as like the opposite of like, because I heard like how Danaher was training, which was a lot of like mount, side control, and back, and I thought like AOJ was almost the opposite. They would, if you were in any of those spots, the match is already decided, and like the real match is decided earlier in the guard pass sweep thing. But it was interesting. That's kind of how I viewed it. But then speaking to Tynan, but not everyone at the gym, but like just him and maybe some of the best guys, Guy gets him to work out of bad spots. How important do you think that is?
I think that's good psychologically because you realize how bad most people are in good positions and bad positions.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you see it in a match where the second a guy gets past, he's basically submitted. You're like, oh, he's has no offense, no defense from here at all. I think it's good psychologically because if you're confident in bad positions, you're always relaxed in the role. Whereas if you think, oh, if I get past, I lose, you generally start to freak out a bit. And that's when I think people make terrible decisions.
Yeah, I was thinking about it like also if you're the best, like if you're the person who you should win, like no matter what the exchange is, you should win, then the things you need to do to make yourself win more is actually just like now work on like the odd chance that you do get put in a bad spot that you're going to get out. Because in the neutral spots, you'll probably, you get into those spots enough, you win. So you're only then going to lose if someone like can take you out of that. Whereas I think like for maybe someone who's just like in amongst the field, but not the best guy in the division, maybe more time needs to be spent on in that kind of mid-range, like those earlier battles, because they need to just get in and have, to have a chance at winning. Just being able to get out a lot for them is not so good. They need to actually like keep upskilling on their ability to take advantage of a good situation.
Yeah, I also think it's a fun way to train too, is like just putting yourself in progressively worse and worse positions.
You do it a lot more than I do.
And see, yeah.
But maybe it's because you're bigger.